So I'll be introducing our speaker. So our speaker is Samuel Obi. We call him Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam, has over 20 years of experience, designing products. Is currently the principal UX designer at Northern Trust, and Uncle Sam has worked at global companies with global brands. Some of them are JP Morgan Chase, Unanet, Domino's, and to mention a few. He's the CEO of Simplified UX. Simplified UX is basically an edtech platform where you can test your UX design knowledge, enhance your skill, build confidence, and lots more. And also, you can get to take test, just to build your UX experience and get to be prepared for the job market, right? So the mission of Simplify UX is basically what our community is about, and along the line we are going to be using Simplify UX, in this journey. So welcome, Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam is going to be like giving us valuable things we need to know. Like, it's priceless. So I want us to take notes. If you have a pen and paper with you, your notes on your phone, just be attentive. And this section is recorded, right? I will be uploading it on the YouTube channel later, and would have the opportunity to listen to it over and over again. So welcome, Uncle Sam. So before Uncle Sam starts, please, I want everyone to stay muted so that we won't interfere. I want us to stay muted. When it's time for question and answer section, just use the chat, and we can ask all of the questions. And like I said in the group, I hope we all have our questions ready. Once Uncle Sam is done, then we can start asking all of these questions. So I think it's time to allow Uncle Sam talk to us. So welcome, Uncle Sam.
Thank you, AJ. First of all, I don't have 20 years of experience. Um, I'm as young as you guys are, so don't let AJ deceive you guys. Okay, so I'm gonna try to make this as interactive as possible, right? As AJ said, I hope you guys already have your questions, and trust me, I don't know everything, right? So I'll be able to answer as many questions as I can. The ones I don't know the answer to, hopefully I know the answer to all, because AJ just lied that I have 20 years of experience. The ones I don't know the answers to, we will look for the answers together. Because one thing I've learned is you have to continue to learn no matter how much experience you have, no matter how deep you have gone into the game, thinking that you know everything. Anybody who thinks he knows everything doesn't know anything at all. So um, I can't remember if it's Socrates or Plato, one of them said, the knowledge that you know, knowing that you know nothing is knowledge itself. So if we all accept that we don't know anything and then we continue to learn, we would learn more because we already have the mindset to learn. But acting like we know everything then puts us in a position where we can't learn because we think we know everything. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to put together an effective case study. It's good. I have about maybe 10 or 12 slides. Excuse me. I'm going to try to be as quick as possible because I know that everybody's time is precious. One thing that is going to make this very interactive is at the end of this session, somebody's going to win something. I don't know what that thing is, but maybe one or two people, they will win something in this session. So I want you all to be prepared. I want you all to be ready to interact. I'll ask questions. I want you guys to be able, flow with me and get the best out of this session. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, and we're gonna use a lot of emojis. So when you can see my screen, let me know with whatever emoji you have. Hopefully, I'll be able to see it too. Um, and then we'll begin. All right, if you guys can see my screen, let me know. Okay, cool. I already see emojis. So I'm flipping back and forth different screens because, it is what we do. Okay, so to begin with, how to create an effective UX case study. This is brought to you by Simplified UX. AJ has already talked about Simplified UX and what we do. Our goal ultimately is to ensure that UX and product designers are able to land jobs. That's all we are trying to do, because we realize that a lot of people complain on social media and complain everywhere that, hey, we're not able to land jobs. We have learned UX. We have been able to put out a good case study. Our portfolio is out there. We have a website. We have a very nice resume and all that good stuff, but people are not able to land jobs. So I realized two things after doing a lot of research, talking to a lot of people. It's either people didn't learn the right things, or they were taught the right things and they didn't pay attention enough. They were not patient enough to go through the whole process and learn all the things that they need to learn, right? And one of the things that they need to learn is putting case study out in the right way. I know that on social media, especially Twitter, everybody talks about case studies, how to put together a case study, how to make it such that it makes sense. There's no one size fits all, to be honest, right? For a case study, it'll depend on the audience you are speaking with. I mean, you can be in a position where you're talking to your friends and you want to show them your case study. It might be different. It might be in a position where you are where you want to show your clients your case study. That's different. You might be in a position where you want to show a recruiter, HR person, or hiring manager your case study. That's a different thing entirely. So, you have to understand how to put together a case study such that your audience would be captured by your case study, because whatever you put together, it'll depend on type of person you are trying to present that case study to. Right. Let's dive in. So we have a few things we're going to talk about. First of all, we're going to talk about what the case study is. I'm sure a lot of you guys know these things, but we're going to break a few things down. And within all this, within this session, I'm going to share my personal experience, and I'm going to share some things that have helped me, some things that I've worked with people on that made sense, and some things that didn't make sense. One, two, I'm going to share my own case studies that helped me land the jobs that I have or that I have had in the past, right? So you would be able to see what I have. It may be the same with yours, it may be different from yours, it may be worse than yours, it may be better than yours. I don't know. But I know for sure that the things that should be included within a case study are the things that would help you, move forward and pass the case study presenting stage of any interview. And then we're going to talk about structuring your case study, what a typical structure should be like, and then breaking down the different sections of a case study. We're also going to talk about what to include in each of the sessions. We're going to talk about mistakes that people make and how to avoid those mistakes. We're also going to talk about tips for effective presentation, and then we're going to have that interactive session. So as you can see, start to get ready. You are going to write or rewrite a catchy introduction of your current or future case study. So if you have a current case study, you're going to write a catchy introduction. If you don't have, you're going to think of something that you might want to present in the future. It could be real or not real, but the goal is to capture people's minds by the introduction that you're going to write. So you're going to put it out there, and then we're going to share it with the group. So as AJ said, you're going to paste it in the chat, and then we'll go through them as quickly as we can and then make things even better. And then we're going to have a question and answer session, and then a few resources for further learning. Are we good? Let me see your emojis, because I'm going to have to slide through. Where are your emojis? Okay, awesome, people. All right. So starting from the very beginning, understanding the purpose of a UX case study. A UX case study, as you can see here, is essentially a story that outlines how a designer tackles a particular problem. It walks through the entire design process from understanding the user needs to crafting a solution. It's like a narrative that helps others understand your design thinking and problem solving abilities. It also allows designers to present their skills, methodologies, and results to potential employers or clients. One thing we need to understand is within a case study, people want to know how you are able to solve problems, especially complex problems. you will see that within a case study, you might just have a redesign of whatever type of application that you saw out there. Is that you then have to ask yourself, is that problem complex enough? Does that problem solve something? Because when you're redesigning, what exactly are you redesigning for? What are the things you are pointing out? That did you actually do heuristic evaluation? Did you pull out where gaps might be, and then you're redesigning to close those gaps to ensure that the experience becomes even better? So you need to understand that it's not just putting out a flow from end to end how you worked on a project, is your methodology, your design thinking skill, and how you're able to solve problems. Those things are really important when it comes to a case study. One significance of UX case study is, or case studies in the UX field, is you need to understand that they are backbones of a designer's portfolio. Now, before I move forward, I'm going to talk a little bit about portfolio versus case studies, right? Your portfolio is a culmination of different projects that you have worked on. It means that if you are bringing 3 case studies together, it's a portfolio. It means that if you are putting 2 to 3, 5, whatever number of projects that you have worked, bringing them together and displaying them, it's a portfolio. But when it comes to case study is that one single project that you worked on. And this entire flow, or this entire documentation, has an end-to-end process of how you were able to solve that particular problem. How did you do research? Who did you talk to? Did you narrow down your target audience? Were the target audience already available? What types of problems did they have? What were their pain points? What were the gaps you found in the current tool or existing tool or app? If it's a new tool, what are the insights you gained? What happened within your discovery calls? How were you able to use all that information, all that feedback, all that insight to start to define what the success metrics would be, start to define your user persona, start to define all these different things, right? That particular project itself, a case study, covers end to end of what happened within that project and how you were able to solve for that challenge, right? So this provides evidence of your capability and how and how you approach design challenges. They help potential employers or clients assess a designer's skills, creativity, and ability to solve complex problems. They are not just about showcasing your work, like I said, but also about demonstrating your thought process, which is invaluable in the competitive field of UX design. Now we're going to jump into structuring your UX design, your UX case study, excuse me. The typical structure has a framework. We already know you have your introduction, problem statements, you can, all these different titles, you can, reward them or rephrase them to be something else. You have your design process, you have outcomes, you have conclusion. Sometimes they always add next steps. And I didn't put next steps here, but I outlined it in some slides to come. The reason for next steps is sometimes clients want to understand, or recruiters want to understand that, hey, after you are done, what's going to happen? Is that the end of the product? Is that the end of the project? Is what is happening next? We want to know where this product is going to. We want to understand the roadmap. We want to know that, oh, this product is bigger than what you just did. Because if a product is exactly what is within your case study, then that isn't a complete product. Everybody knows that, so it's something for us to bear in mind, because people want to see what is going to happen next. They want to understand that you, as a product designer, you as a UX designer, you are thinking of the future. You are thinking of how, the product will evolve and be enhanced. While there is no one-size-fits-all structure when structuring your UX case study, you often find it helpful to follow a common framework. This framework ensures clarity and consistency, and it includes several key actions that guide the reader through the design process, and findings. We're going to break down these different sections and look at them on how they work. So for each section, we're going to provide a brief explanation of its purpose and what the information it should contain. Look at your introduction. Some people call it overview, right? It is a way to set the stage for the case study. It explains the project's context, your role, and what readers can expect. Sometimes we just talk about when we type the overview or we type the introduction, we just type what we worked on. It shouldn't just be what you worked on. It should give context to what the entire project is about, then narrowing it down to what you worked on. Because sometimes people like what you worked on, but they don't understand the context within which you worked on it. So what is the entire project about? What is the entire product about? And then what are the gaps that you are then trying to solve, right? That way, it is easy for somebody to understand and be interested in going further with your case study, reading through and going deep into it. Okay, so excuse me for today. I think I have a cold, but I'll be fine. Okay, so we're going to talk about problem statements. Clearly define the problem statement or the actual challenge that your product or project aim to solve. This helps readers understand the context and significance of your work. Because if they don't understand the significance of your work, nobody will be interested to move forward. Remember, one of the exercises we're going to do at the end, we're going to do more than one though. One of the exercises we're going to do is crafting a nice introduction or an overview for either your current project or a project that you anticipate to work on. So while we're going through this and you're putting down notes, also start crafting that, because we want to look at those and see how improved we can be as quickly as possible. Now we'll jump onto research. The research section, it's a problem statement that is clearly, I don't know why I put this differently. Okay, I'll talk about research in a different way. I made that mistake there. The research section, it is about the people you talk to. There are different types of research if we are not aware. There's interviews, there's surveys, there's contextual research, there's usability testing, there are different ways, there are different questionnaires that you can throw out there. Now, when you put out the type of research that you used, it helps your reader understand the types of problems that you are trying to solve. An example is if you talk about discovery research and you talk about interviews, automatically the reader understands that, there is a problem out there and you are trying to find where these potential users or existing users have pain points and how you can help them solve it. When you talk about usability testing, then the reader will understand that, hey, there's a proposed solution that is out here, and then you're trying to validate that solution, right? So the type of research that you have done, explain it, and then outline the outcomes of that research, because that outcome helps the reader understand where you are going to and the process of how you are trying to solve this problem. And then we'll jump into the design process. You walk through your design process from ideation to wireframing to prototyping and testing. Explain your design decisions and don't forget to include iterations, because sometimes we always move in one linear flow. Maybe you have your wireframes, maybe you have your sketches, maybe you have your prototypes, and you just show all that stuff in a linear way. Everybody knows, okay, maybe not everybody. A lot of people know that for you to come up with a solution, you must have thought of different ideas. Many times your first idea is not always the best idea. So you need to show how you got to the actual proposed solution that you're putting out there. How many sketches do you have? How many wireframes did you come up with? How were you able to narrow down those different ideas to the particular idea that you are choosing to move forward with? That iteration process is really important because people want to understand that you know your stuff. You know how to work this thing out. Because people feel like a case study is supposed to be pretty, a case study is supposed to be beautiful, a case study is supposed to take all these different mobile screens with the mobile phone, mocked it up in all that, with your Apple MacBook Pro, mocked up the screens in all that. It's not about the beauty of the case study or the screens. It's about narrowing down a solution that works and how you were able to make that happen. So your iteration process is really important, right? And you have to now talk about why other solutions did not work versus why the solution you went with works best. Right? So, how did you do all those different options, and what made this particular option you're going with the best option that works? A lot of people always talk about, hey, I like this option. Hey, I like this. We really don't like anything for real, because what we like may just not work for the clients, for your customers, for your potential users. It just may not work, right? You give me 1 second. All right, I'm back. So it just may not work for the potential clients. It just may not work for the potential users, right? What the solution should be is what works best, what creates the best experience, not just what I like, what you like, what your design manager likes, what the owner of the business likes, what the CEO likes. You know, it's not what they like, because they are not the user. They are not the people who actually engage and interact with this tool. It has to be what works. That's where this testing comes in. That's where usability testing comes in. That's where your discovery research comes in, because you're understanding the people who will actually use the product and then design for them. And then we'll talk about outcomes. You share the results of your work, discuss metrics, user feedbacks, and how your solution addressed the initial problem. And then we'll jump into conclusion, where you summarize the key takeaways from your case study, reflect on what you learned, and its bordered implication. Sometimes I see in case studies where people say, in conclusion or takeaways, I learned that communicating with developers is really important because blah 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 blah. Yeah, that is all good. We need to start to think of things from a totally different perspective, in as much as we can talk about how we learn better communication, how we learn how to collaborate even better, how we learn how to, do better research within this whole process. Yes, awesome. How about what success looks like? How about the product actually didn't do as great as anticipated? People have case studies that is a very loving story from end to end. No product on earth is a loving story from end to end. There are always problems in between. There are always challenges in between. Those are the things that should be included in your case study that customers, clients, recruiters, HR managers, hiring managers want to see. They want to know what you encountered. They want to know where were the speed breakers. What hurdles did you come across? How did you navigate your way? Okay, after designing this entire solution, you went for usability testing and it actually just failed woefully. Why did it fail? How were you able to rework it that it became a success? What were the goals that you set that, oh, if this product is able to meet this goal, it is a success. If it's not able to meet this goal, then we have to rework things and ensure that we meet our goals. Those are the things that should be put in your conclusion, because people want to understand that you went through different processes, different hoops, different hurdles to ensure that you brought out a solution that actually works. So it's something for us to think about and understand how we want to restructure our case studies to include the things that are really important. Now, to next steps, like I talked about, share some of the product feature enhancements. Many products do not end at MVP. I'm sure we already know that, or end at a rework, because sometimes we have existing products and then we have to redesign or rework something within that product. There's always something on the roadmap. There's always something next. There's always a new feature. There's always an enhancement. There's always something that the product looks forward to add to what is existing. How do you share those things on a high level where you're not sharing too much, but whoever you're sharing to knows that, there is a bigger picture, right? Those are things that we need to also consider. Now, jumping into what to include in your case study within each of those sessions. The introduction section. This is how you grab the reader's attention, right? You want to consider starting with a real user story, a relatable problem, or a surprising statistics related to the project you are working on. This will make your case study more engaging right from the start. So again, these are ideas that I'm already dropping for you to start to craft your case study introduction so that we go through it later at the end. And I'm going to try to leave a lot of time for questions as well. We're going to look at the problem statement. How do you articulate your problem? You have to articulate it clearly and you have to be concise. Your problem statements should be crystal clear, explain challenges that your product is aimed to solve, like I said before, in a concise manner. Make sure that you highlight the problem and what's significant and highlight why this problem was significant and how it affected users or the business. Then you talk about your research, gathering and presenting user research. In this session, you have to showcase your user research efforts, describe the method you used, like I talked about earlier, such as user interviews or surveys, and then share your insights, share everything you gain, share your feedbacks. You can use quotes if you want to, and data visualization if you also want to, and personas to make sure that your research findings are relatable. You also want to explain your design decisions, like we talked about too. This is just elaborating all the different things that we have talked about earlier. When it comes to outcomes, what are the success matrices and how did they impact the actual solution? So you want to also talk about those things, and you want to put out your summary, conclusion, and takeaways. You want to recap the key takeaways, summarize the problem, summarize your solution, and the positive outcomes. This reinforces your case study's main point and leaves a lasting impression on the reader. Again, I talked about next steps here because this is very important to share roadmap items that would make the product even better for existing or potential users of the product. And this way, whoever you are presenting to can get a sense of direction of the entire journey. All right, mistakes to avoid. I'm going to run through this pretty quick because at the end, I'll share this deck with AJ. I think he might be able to share with all of you so that you guys can always refer back to this. There are some pitfalls and how to avoid them. Sometimes we have insufficient research, and to avoid them is prioritizing comprehensive user research at the beginning of the project, because that way, when you have done all that at the beginning of the project, you are able to use those insights or those feedback that you gathered, use them to move forward, because these things are very valuable data, extremely valuable to help your product move forward. Vague problem statements. Sometimes we poorly define our problem statements, and it can leave our audience or whoever is reading it confused about the purpose of this case study. To avoid that, clearly articulate the problem you aim to solve from the user's perspective and be specific about the pain points or challenges you intend to address. Sometimes we have lack of visuals and documentation. In as much as we want to put visuals out there, a case study shouldn't have a lot of visuals because we want to actually see the raw thing. We don't want to see final work. We want to see how you got to the final work, because seeing the final work doesn't tell me how you got here. So I want to see how you got to the final work. So we will use visuals, we will document things, but we will not use so many visuals. We will only use the things that are important, the raw things, right? And then neglecting the design process. How to avoid that is walk your audience through your design process step by step and explain why you made specific choices and how they address the identified problems. Lack of user centricity. We focus too much on the design, just like I said, and not enough on the user experience, because this can result in a case study that doesn't resonate with people. So, how to avoid that is keeping the user at the center of the case study and highlight how your design decisions directly benefit the user and solve their problems. We have a few more. We have omitting outcomes and impacts, which we have talked about, because your outcomes, your impacts, they are very important within your case study. And how to solve that is clearly presenting data and metrics that demonstrate the success of your solution. Show how it positively affected your user behavior or your business goals. Ignoring storytelling. You have to be a storyteller one way or the other. You have to be able to sell your market, right? That way, to avoid that problem is crafting a compelling narrative that guides the user or the reader through your design journey. Tell a story of the problem, your process, and your resolution. Overlooking iterations. We talked about iterations earlier. We have to understand that iterations are important. They need to see the different stages. They need to see how you moved from one point to another, right? Inadequate proofreading. Again, this just happened to me. If you realize in the other past slides where I have research, I did this in a hurry, so I forgot to um, fix that part. But yeah, so you have to also proofread. Again, like I said in the beginning, we're all learning and see that nobody's above mistake. Anything can happen. You have to proofread everything and ensure that everything that you put in there is the right thing, and then it makes sense. Sometimes you need an extra set of eyes where you might share with people to go through them before you present your case study. Lack of strong conclusion. Summarizing the key takeaways, you should also restate the impact of your solution and leave the reader with a clear understanding of the project's significance. All right, how to avoid making your case study too long or too short. How to avoid making it too long. Stay focused on the problem. Prioritize key insights. Use visuals sparingly. Concise descriptions. Limit technical details. And one case for one study. That's why it is called case study. We don't have to put multiple solutions in one case study. The goal for that case study is how you're able to solve a particular problem, not multiple problems, a particular problem. So it is one case for one study. That way it is not too long. How to avoid making it too short. Cover the essentials, explain your process, include results, tell the full story, use visuals effectively, summary and conclusion should be done properly, and then seek feedback. Very, very important as well. I'm going to talk about a few tips for effective presentation. Now, you have to know your audience, right? Like I said before, you might be presenting to your friends, you might be presenting to clients, you might be presenting to hiring managers, recruiters, you could be presenting to anybody. So knowing your audience is really important. And then when you structure your presentation in the right way for that audience, it will be clearly understood what you are trying to present and how you're able to solve your problem from end to end. You have to also practice conciseness. You have to ensure that whatever you're saying is articulated and concise. You don't have to use too many words to say something that can be said in fewer was very, very important. And then I put it there again, still use visuals, but use them sparingly. Tell a story. We have talked about that. Ensure that your story makes sense and is relatable and it sounds the way it should sound based on the problem that you're solving. And then highlight key insights, which is really, really important as well. A few tips for creating engaging visuals and narratives. Visual consistency. You have to ensure that whatever visuals you're using, they are consistent. Use real data if possible, because it is really important for you to put out real data there, not just assumed data. User-centered stories. You don't just have to, share stories that make sense. You have to share stories that are centered around the actual users that you're solving problems for, and then also demo your solution. So sometimes you might have a full case study like this that is so awesome, but you don't have a prototype to follow suit. You don't have a prototype to show what the end result is, and then a click through. When we talk about prototype, some people think that it has to be extremely fancy. No, it doesn't. It's just a click through to see how you are able to solve this problem and what it was like. I'm going to share some of those examples for you to see. Um, and then practice timing and also anticipate questions. And lastly, seek feedback. Now, before we jump into the exercise, I'm going to give you example of case studies. Now, this is one case study that I used recently, very recently, and I was able to land a job at Northern Trust. This case study is something that I worked on when I was in JP Morgan Chase, and what it does is it's almost like a fintech solution, but it's not, because it helps specialists enhance merchant servicing. So as you can see, payments have been a web application built to enhance merchant servicing. I'm going to run through this real quick because I know that we're getting out of time. Now, for some people, it might be introduction. For some people, it might be overview. And what I've done here is craft something that makes people want to understand why we are solving a problem in the first place, right? And if you see that it's a web application, and we started in Sketch plus InVision, and then we transferred over to Figma. These are the challenges faced by specialists, and then the objective of the solution is to enhance servicing process, which is as easy as that. I have little things here that I throw out there once in a while, and as you can see, I try to use visuals that are compelling, just very subtle, so that people can see what we are doing. Right. And then my role as a senior UX designer, I was a senior UX designer when I was at Chase. And this is how I laid it out right there for them to see. And then I jumped into our discovery process. So if you see all this is just the full introduction, understanding what the problem is. I put challenges faced by specialists instead of problem statements. So you can switch the titles, you can do anything you can play with it just how you like. But whatever you are putting out there has to make sense for whoever is reading it, right? And then I jump into discovery. My research and findings, understanding that our specialists were using over 30 tools. I couldn't list the entire 30 here, but I listed a few applications that they were using. And we did a usability score for each of those tools. And then we found what we needed, the results of that usability score. And then I had recommendations for what we needed to do in order to solve that problem. We went ahead based on those insights, based on those feedback, based on all that good stuff to define what our persona is, putting some things in codes, talking about, we named our persona, in fact, because we just thought that it made sense to, assume that we're actually solving this problem for an individual that will now spiral down to multiple individuals, their goals, their aspirations, their motivations, their frustrations, and all that good stuff, which we already know. So again, it doesn't have to be extremely pretty. It just has to have the information, the right amount of information to help you share your insights and your message in the right way. And I jumped into design immediately. There are some paper sketches with different options, different solutions, different ideas, and all that stuff. And then I started narrowing things down, creating a low fidelity wireframe and jumping into high fidelity mockups. Now, in between, I have a mid fidelity wireframes, and you see it in the beginning. So, if you in some slides to come, excuse me. So, if you see the low fidelity transferred to high fidelity, they look alike. And then I did that here, and I also did that here. Now, the cool thing is, after going through all these, we started talking to our potential customers, we started talking to specialists, we started talking to people who would actually use this product. And then, okay, before I move forward, and then we started finding constraints. Before I move forward, within my case study, I always give a space for questions. So when I get to a good checkpoint, I give a space to say, hey, do you have any questions? Do you, any feedback, anything right now? And then people would ask questions or say, no, go on. So I jump in. And then we start to talk about technical constraints. Sometimes people don't bring in their developers or their partners in early enough, and then they design all this stuff, and then they hand everything off, and then they have to come back and design and redesign because there are technical constraints. So imagine that I had done all the entire project, and then I handed it off to developers. They will have these technical constraints, and then I have to go back to the drawing board and redesign all these things. So pulling these guys in earlier, we're able to find out that API calls were not bringing back the data that we needed. All these different totals, they were not coming in. So we had to remove them while they started looking for ways to solve the problem. And then if you see, we removed it here, and this is what it looks like in the mid fidelity, and this is what it looks like in the high fidelity mockups. And other things happened when we did prototype and testing. We realized that some customers in some merchants in Canada and merchants in US, our specialists could not differentiate their accounts. So we decided to add a flag for those who are in US. We have the US flag, and those who are in Canada would have the Canadian flag. So those are things that happen within your process that you have to lay out, because all these people who you are presenting to will see these things and understand that you are iterative, you are making changes on the fly, you are agile, you are able to put things together and make things work, because there are always going to be constraints, there are always going to be technicalities, there are going to always be feasibility issues. These are things that we need to always consider. And then we jump into other types of constraints where we had a data laid out in some type of way as a table, but we decided to put them in accordion. And if you see the high fidelity, the same thing, we realized that our specialists want to be able to compare data from different dates. And if you have them as a table, it will be difficult for them to compare. So if you have it as accordion, you can collapse the ones in the middle and compare top and bottom, just to make life easy for those who use the tool. And then we have some other constraints and feedback and all that stuff. And then I went into the impact. So you can see how short this case study is, but it has shared a lot of information that will make somebody understand that, hey, this designer went through a lot of iterative process to ensure that the solution makes sense for whoever we use it. And then we had another usability scores testing, and then we're able to see that, hey, what we designed made more sense than what was being used, adding these different multiple tools together. And then we had a full roadmap of all the different features we developed within the tool and the years and the month that they were released. I took a screenshot of this, and somebody asked me, why didn't you redesign this thing? I'm like, oh, I could have redesigned it, but I needed you to see the raw thing, because this was done in Microsoft Word. Instead of redesigning it in Figma or redesigning it somewhere else, I needed to pull out the actual raw thing so that you see that this is not a new project, this is an old project, and you see how it was worked on from start to finish. And then I put my impact. These are actual real figures, because we're able to pull out these figures from our matrices. And also next steps. Again, you can change the title to whatever. In my mind, where we're going. Where we're going is integrated services. We want to be able to integrate other services within the tool, and then we want to be able to service other partners. We want to be able to service GoFundMe. We want to be able to service Thought Bistro, FreshBooks, Joyce, and Mango Mint. So that's one case study, and an example of a case study that works. And where I work today, not on Trust, this is the case study I used. Now, we have 10 minutes more. Before we jump to question and answer, have we crafted our introduction? Because our call is going to end soon. So
Yeah, sorry to.
if we have cracked our introduction, please put thumbs up, and let's start looking at all these introductions.
I'm sorry to cut in, Uncle Sam. I'm thinking
Hmm.
because of the exercise, and it's going to take like a couple more minutes. Once this call drop off, can we set up like a 30 minute call just to finish up? Is this something you want to
Okay,
do?
cool. That works.
Okay, all right. Thank you, sir. All right.
So what you will do is set it up now and put it in the chat, I think, so that everybody can have it handy and then just join back in
Yes,
quickly.
yes, yeah. Okay, I'll do that now. All right, sir.
All right. So if we have our introduction, can we start pasting them in the chat? I'm looking at the chat now. I need to start to read people's introduction. Come on, people. Do we have our introductions? I need to see emojis and your thumbs ups and hearing that you have all these introductions. Oh, somebody says we were focused on the lesson. You guys were busy listening to me. Excuse me. All right. So you were busy listening, and when I was talking, I was saying that we should start crafting introductions. I'm going to share the deck. How don't we have introductions? I saw somebody's thumbs up. Can you put your introduction? Let's see. Okay. So while we're coming up with these introductions, let me leave the remaining 8 or 9 minutes for questions because I have another exercise for you guys. If you have questions, start to put them in the chat so that we can answer all of them as quickly as we can. Or you guys were too busy listening to me and didn't put questions down. Okay, somebody has a question. Wahab. Do we want to switch this up a little bit? If you have a question, put your hand up and unmute and ask your question. I think that might make it easier. Because if you want to type your question, you might just take a minute. Does that make sense? Yes. So Salam, ask your question. While you're asking your question, Wahab will ask his question next. Salam, ask your question.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you everybody for being on this call. So my question is basically like for some of us that works in an organization where we have, should we say we have a very good commitment and any of the products they release after joining them. So in some cases, some of us doesn't have access to all these datas from, should I say, the analytics teams and the likes based on our location because most companies don't want to play with datas with people from this side of the world. I don't know why. So how do we formulate datas that can, just cover it for it?
You have to ask the question again because I'm finding it hard to understand your question.
Okay, sorry. So my question is the way you were able to like generate the results after the product was launched, or should I say, yeah, the result after the product was launched, the closing of your case studies. Some of us are working in companies that they don't want to give us access into too much of their data and the likes. So how do you feel we can navigate that?
Oh, great question. So when we talk about data, there's different levels to data, right? I understand that companies do not want to release data, but this is not the type of data that is hidden. This is not private data. This is public, because everybody wants to, be proud and say, hey, with what we redesigned, our productivity increased 5%. Our product is out there. It's not something that should be hidden. So if you're looking for in-depth data, that's not what you're supposed to be looking for. Before the product or the project was embarked on, the problem that you're trying to solve, I'll give you an example. Assuming that you have a checkout problem in an e-commerce, right? Now, before you solve the problem, what was the abandonment rate? Oh, we have a 90% abandonment rate when it comes to checkouts. This people will just talk about it right there. It's not something to be hidden. It's public knowledge, right? And then the people you work with, say you work with project managers or you work with whoever person, you have to that is where your research comes in. in the beginning. What is the gap? What is the problem we're trying to solve? What are the pain points, and how do we want to solve those pain points, right? So if one of the challenges is abandonment rate is say 96%, so that therefore we in every 10 people, or in every 100 people, only 4 people complete the checkout. In every 100 people, 96 people abandon. So there's something wrong with the checkout. Walmart did something like that, where when you're checking out, you have to sign in or sign up to check out, and they had that problem. The way they solved it was checking out as a guest, and then abandonment rate reduced by almost 80%. So when you do your first research, you will find out what the problem is. In this context, that abandonment rate is high as 96%. And when you have solved the problem, it is only easy for you to ask, hey, were we able to solve this problem? Oh yeah, we're able to solve this problem. That abandonment rate that was 96%, did it drop down to? Oh, it dropped down to 42%. So that means we're able to, solve this problem in a way, and then we'll continue to solve it some more. It is not hidden data. This data doesn't tell you anything about the customer. It doesn't give you customer details. It doesn't give you company details, right? So where you think you have a challenge is because you don't have the first gap or challenge. It is difficult for you to find the data that was put out there when you solve the problem. So in the beginning, try to find out what the problem is, so that when you're solving it, you are able to match and say, hey, this is what we set as our matrix for success. Were we able to meet it? Because if you ask somebody, were we able to meet it, the person will say, oh yeah, we met it. Oh, we were close. Oh, we didn't meet it. That way you are able to pull out data. Did I answer your question?
Thank you very much.
Cool. I'm gonna read. Wahab hasn't asked this question, so I'm gonna. Oh, Wahab has asked a question. Asked the question. In a case where, for an example, I have to create a case study without any actual live product, how do we do that? Also, let's say we use Play Store to get some products and find problems. In this case, how do we make the research and data on the app on Google Play Store? Great question. So you have answered your first question already by the second question. So you can go on Google Play Store, like AJ always says, and I'm sure he's a preacher for that. Go on Google Play Store and look at all the reviews, and then find the problems and try to solve. That's how you are able to pull out projects that are not, that you don't have actual projects, so you can pull those out. You can also do fictitious projects. Back in the day, I did a really, really fictitious project called project management system, and I didn't have any data, I didn't have anything. But what I started doing is I went online and started searching for the challenges with project management tools. And trust me, I found a lot of challenges, right? Now, that way, when you solve the problem, so let's assume that whatever challenge, an example of challenge could be individuals do not go in there to actually update what they're working on. I know that this thing will go off in a minute or so. So we already have the link. You guys should copy this link quickly so that we can jump into the next call. The way I was able to solve that problem is, an example is, users do not update their tasks. When I designed a solution that I think would be engaging for users to update their tasks, I would then put in my data saying something like, at the end of this project, we anticipate that if users are not willing to update their tasks, let's say by 20%, this would enhance productivity by another 25% because of the way I have designed it. So you can anticipate success and put those data there. That way, people are seeing that, oh, with the solution you are putting out, there's a possibility that it will work just the way you put it out there. So I'm going to pause here because I know that we're going to go out soon. And then I have AJ. AJ, your hand is up. For those who type their questions out there, your questions, you might need to tell us your question now this time, because we're not able to pull questions here from there. So Just bear that in mind. Oh, okay. We're able to pull questions. So let's wait a little bit for AJ and others to come in before we move forward.
Yeah, Uncle
I
Sam.
want to finish answering our question. Oh, you're here?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah. Okay, I think Michael has a
Okay.
question.
I want yeah. I want to finish answering Wahab's question. And for those others who have questions, please raise your hands or put your questions in the chat so that we can start answering all of them. So yeah, when you do those fictitious projects or work on projects that don't exist or are existing, and then you are finding it hard to pull out data, you start to anticipate, because trust me, online there's a lot of stuff online. You know, people think about research as a big deal. People think about research as something where we have to talk to everybody, we have to set up a time, we have to set up a meeting, we have to. Let me tell you how I've been able to do a lot of research. While talking to AJ, we might be texting on Twitter or texting on WhatsApp. And then I'm asking questions. What do you think about blah, 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 blah? It's like, I think this, I think that, I think that. That's his research already. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It doesn't have to be something where we are going to look for participants, we're going to look for recruiters. Yes, those things happen, right? But we don't have to think of research as something as deep as, excuse me, setting up a time for every single person. No. There's somebody on Twitter, David. I was texting him on WhatsApp, and I'm like, "Hey, we want to do referral, blah blah blah. What are your thoughts?" He's like, "Oh, I've done it before. This is what I think, blah blah." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. How do we now make this work? Because I'm thinking of this approach. Like, oh, that approach might work, but why don't you think about it? This approach from this?" That's his research. Discussing with people, it doesn't have to be very formal. It doesn't have to be some type of arranged question and answer. It just has to be getting information, getting feedback, getting insight based off of the solution you are trying to put out there and solving a problem. So when you go online, you search for what the challenges might be based on what you're trying to solve. When you solve that problem, you will put in your statistics or your metrics that, hey, I anticipate that this problem that is 90% will be reduced by 70% with this solution I put there. That's data. People need to see that. So if Wahab is here, because I can see everybody, I hope that I'm able to answer your question. All right. Let's go on to awesome. Let's go on to Michael. You're welcome, Wahab. You mentioned solving a particular problem per case study. What happens in a case study where there are multiple features to address on a particular project, like making the app look visually better and adding other features? So, great question. When you're making an application visually better, what is the reason why you're making it visually better? That alone is a problem you're trying to solve. If it's not visually pleasing, why isn't it visually pleasing? What are your customers saying? How has it been negative? How did it have negative impact to your business? How has it made the experience on the product not as good as anticipated? Putting out all those things and then doing the redesign is one case study. Having to add other features. What features are you adding? Let's assume you're adding 3 new features. What are the features going to do? What is the gap that's making you add feature? Is it just on the roadmap and then you're adding a new feature? Is it something that is not working well and then you are trying to make it better or enhance? One feature per case study. Because if you look at the development cycle of a product or a product life cycle, you don't develop 10 features at the same time. So why do you want to have a case study that has 2, 3, 4, 5 features in one? Features are developed one after the other. So I mentioned it, one case, one study. Look at each of those features individually. Break them down. Understand why the features are being added. understand what the success of each of those features will be, understand the reason why those solutions will work for customers and would be beneficial to the business. If you break it down in details, you realize that you can have one case study for one feature. Now, remember, you can have one case study for an entire project. So that is still one case, one study, not 3 features as a case study. Then you have another case study for the same project that has maybe 2 features. That wouldn't make sense, right? Why don't you have a case study for the entire project? And then part of your research is heuristic evaluation, understanding why the product is the way it is, understanding the gaps, understanding that, okay, it has to be visually enhanced so that it will make sense or whatever reason, right? And then adding XYZ features will then ensure that the customers are able to reach their goals, and then the business will be able to reach their goals as well. Then you are doing one case, one study for the entire project. I hope that answers your question. Okay. We have Uzoma. Cool. We have Uzoma. You're welcome, Michael. I'm finding it difficult to create user flows for a case study I'm working on. Kindly advise me on how I can create one. Awesome question. So I love this question so much because, again, we always think of things too deeply. I think is the way we are as Nigerians, but we have to start to lighten up a little bit. The way user flows are being created is you thinking in your mind. That's where it starts. How does an individual who wants to use this product move from point A to point B to point C to point D up to point Z? That's your user flow. It's as simple as that. So, an example, let's use a fintech solution, and we're using somebody who wants to put money into their wallet. What do? A new customer, you either sign up, go through the onboarding, land on your dashboard. An existing customer, you sign in, you land on your dashboard. That's the user flow already. So you put in your card or your stickies or whatever thing you're using. New customer, existing customer. New customer, there's this diamond that is for decision points, right? Where you always say, are you a new customer? Yes, then sign up. Are you a new customer? No, then sign in. What happens next? New customer goes through onboarding. You put it there, goes through. So the exact way and steps that an individual will take to reach a goal, to attain a goal within a product, is a flow, right? And then they land on the dashboard, and there's a button that says add funds to wallet, or there's a button that says view wallet, whatever thing. And then you click on wallet, you see you have 00, add funds now. You see all these things I've said, land on dashboard, click on wallet, wallet opens, you get to a button that says, assuming, okay, wallet opens. Do you have funds in your wallet? Yes. Then you see you have XYZ amount in your wallet. Do you want to add more funds? Do you have funds in your wallet? No. Then you see a button that says click to add funds. You click on add funds. If you have your account, that's a decision point again. Do you have existing accounts attached to it? So as you think about it, that is the way you put it down. A step-by-step process in achieving a goal of a user within your tool. That is how you create your user flow. I hope that answers your question, Uzoma. All right. We have Adu Jebi. In 3 minutes, we're going to stop question and answer because I have one exercise for you guys. While I'm answering all these questions, I'm going to give. So while I was talking, I was thinking about it. Somebody's going to win 5,000 naira today. Hopefully, it's one of you. Maybe 2 people will win. You're going to go into simplified UX. If you already have an account, awesome. If you don't have an account, create one quickly as I'm answering all these questions, because in another 3 or 4 minutes, you're going to go in there and as quickly as you can. I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes. Each of the workbooks have 20 minutes, but I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes. Whoever has the highest score for whichever workbook you answer, you get 5,000 naira. So while I'm answering questions, go and get yourself ready. Don't start answering before we start. We have to time it together. Don't cheat. Don't cheat. Nobody should cheat. Okay. So Odujebe. I'm sorry if I Ernest, let me call the right name. Belumi, please. Sorry for slandering your name. Any materials or recommendations on UX courses? AJ will give you all that because AJ is the main person here. So he'll be able to share all the materials and recommendations for UX courses. What I will only recommend is when you have time, go into Simplified UX and test yourself. Go back and learn and come back and test yourself. That way you are growing, you are becoming better, you are improving, and then you see that it is easy for you to land jobs. All right. Ernest, what is the difference between user flow and information architecture? Okay, this is very awesome. I love this question. So I just explained what user flow is, a step-by-step process that a user would go through to achieve their goal or their target within your tool, your product, your app, whatever that is. What information architecture is the ability to display information such that what is important is displayed first and it is seen first. It is easy to discover information. It is easy to find information. So if you go on a website, why did they put a big header and then an image and then a button there? Because maybe they want you to read the header first because that header is very catchy. And then when you read that catchy header, you see the image that makes you imagine what you can get. And then the next thing they want you to do is click that button because they assume in their mind that when you read that catchy header, you see that awesome image. Oh boy, I love this site. I want to get started now. That is information architecture. Displaying information such that the most important things come first, just how you expect and anticipate your visitors to see them. That is the difference between user flow and information architecture. I hope I'm able to answer your question. Awesome. Okay, who's next? Okay, I'm going to answer all the questions up to where we have the link to Simplified UX, and then we're going to jump in there. The next one says, is it really important to put AI in a case study? No, it's not important. But if you put it, it just, it makes you seem a little bit more knowledgeable because it depends on what you are working on, right? If you're working on a website, yes, it might be important. So I think my answer is not no. My answer is it depends on what you're working on. If you're working on a mobile app or a web app, it might not be. A mobile app might not be really important, but a web app too, might be important because you have to lay information in a way that makes sense. I'll give you an example. When people are signing up on Simplified UX, there's a point where we have pricing and there's a button up top that says continue for free. We're not able to find that button. And then we have a lot of accounts that are drafts because they were not able to find that button and then they abandon. So this is an example of we saying, abandonment rate is, let's say, 60% because let's assume that we have 100 people on our platform and 60 people are abandoning because they're not able to find that button. Now, our job is to speak to customers to understand what the actual problem is. Is either they're finding the button is not clicking or they're not even able to see the button. That way, information architecture is really important because is it the button we want them to see first or is the button we want them to see last? Do we want them to look at pricing first and then scroll down to see the button? Or because it is mobile, we want them to see the button first even though the pricing is there and they can scroll? So you see that in this scenario, information architecture is really important. So it depends on the project you're working on and knowing the importance of information architecture, and then you can add it into your case study. I hope I've been able to answer your question. All right, time to jump. Are we all on Simplified UX website or app ready to start answering questions? I want to see thumbs up. All right, somebody's, only 3 people are about to win 5K. Okay, 4 or 5 people. Inside, in about 30 something people, is only 5 people that want to win 5K. I'm sorry that, no, don't, you are on your own if you don't win it, so, All right, so choose any, you know what I mean by any workbook you want. Choose anyone. The time, I'm gonna put a 5 minutes timer. I'm gonna put it on my phone. So give me a minute. Let me open my timer here. Stopwatch. The time starts now. And in 5 minutes, I'm gonna stop it. I need you to put your scores in the chat. In fact, we need screenshots, but we'll find out how we'll work it out. So your time starts now. In 5 minutes time, I'll come back. And stop. All right, no cheating, no cheating, no cheating, no cheating, no cheating. Put thumbs up if we are done. Come on. Okay, I'm seeing. We have 3 minutes more, so we have to start to do this. So what we're going to do is take a screenshot of your results. Take a screenshot of your result. Somebody said they got 80% score. Somebody said they got 60%. Take a screenshot. Go on Twitter now, right? And mention or tag Simplified UX with your result, and we're going to pick the highest person. Now, in the next, this space is going to end in the next 3 minutes. So before we end this space, go and do it, and then we close. That person is going to win. I reach out to AJ, and then we'll sort out the person who wins. So somebody who got 3 out of 5, that person cheated because the person did a practice test. We're not talking about practice tests. So I'm sorry, you might not be able to win. Go in and take a screenshot and post it on Twitter. Tag Simplified UX _ Simplified UX. And AJ and I would decide who will win. Thank you guys very much. I really appreciate this time, and I hope that you guys learned a lot. I will share the deck with you guys, and hopefully we continue to grow together, expand together, and be better UX designers. Over to you, AJ.
Thank you so much, Uncle Sam. Like, this section is it's very, very valuable and priceless. Myself, I've learned more stuff, and I'm going to be using that as I progress in my career also. And I'm very sure that everyone on this call have learned a lot of things from Uncle Sam. And the goal of our community is to prepare ourselves for the job market, to do the right thing, have the right thing in place. And like you said, like Uncle Sam said, he said the case study presented to us to explain how we should come up with ours landed in his current job. And if we do exactly what he tells us to do, what he shared with us, we can as well land that dream job of ours. So the case study is one of the key things that we need to make sure we have in this journey. And I wish everyone a success on this part. Also on Twitter, I want everyone, if you are on Twitter, just give a shout out to Uncle Sam for doing this with us. He's very busy, and today is weekend, and we just stole like 1 hour 30 minutes out of his time. The time he's supposed to use to be with his family and all that. Like, we really do appreciate this, Uncle Sam, and God bless you for all you do for the community. Thank you so much, sir.
All right, I'll see you guys next time. Please put your posting for those who want to win. If you don't want to win, then don't put anything on Twitter. But if you want to win, maybe we'll extend it into more than one person. All right, I'll see you guys later. Have a wonderful weekend.
And you too, sir. All right. So this call is being recorded. I'm going to edit it and upload on YouTube, and I'm going to also share the link to us on Slack so that we can, revisit it, we can watch, we can listen to it, and also, Uncle Sam is going to share, the slide with us, the document. I'm also going to share all of these things to us, and just before we go, just wanted to, talk about, what I explained to us in the first week, right? As regards to, working on a live product, working on a product that actually exists. You can see that what Uncle Sam actually shared is sort of the same, right? That kind of approach. And you see him saying that when someone asks a question about the App Store and all that, he sort of he said I'm big on that part, and the reason for that is because you can actually get those data. Those data is there for you. What you just need to do is to, you know, pull them out, right? So we're on the right path. We just need to put in the work, just do everything that Uncle Sam has shared with us, and you will start to see, um, the results in real time. All right, thank you everyone. Thank you so much, for joining. I can see that this call's participation is has improved as against last week. Please, if any of your friend join this cohort, tell them to be actively involved and participate, because at the end of the day, anything you do, like any inputs that you put into this is going to reflect individually to our own respective journey, right? At the end of the day, this is for our own personal benefit. So we should please and please, for the next 9 weeks that we're going to do this, let's put in everything that we need to put in to achieve the goal. The goal is to land our dream jobs, and it can happen, right? It can happen. All right. I think we should come to the end of this section. Thank you everyone. Enjoy your weekend. Have a productive week ahead. Until next time, do have fun and stay fab.